Hello, hello. Welcome back. And today we're talking about this most amazing book called Meditations by Marcus Aurelius. And you're going to find this super profound and insightful and super applicable to your life. So definitely enjoy this one. Marcus Aurelius Antonius, the Roman emperor, was inspired by the Greek ideal of philosophy as a way of life. The Meditations, composed around 170 to 180 AD, is Marcus's private book of reflections, written over a series of years in far-flung places, as Marcus led the Romans in military campaigns, quashed revolts, and dealt with the other tribulations of governing the empire. It is best described as a spiritual journal, containing a record of Marcus's philosophical exercises. While the book is valuable for historical reasons as a document of the inner life of a remarkable Roman emperor, it is the spiritual force of the book that is truly extraordinary. Marcus speaks to us across the millennia about perennial human problems. The book is interesting as an example of Stoic thought, but it remains compelling because it bears witness to a profound journey of the human spirit. Marcus became emperor in 161 AD at the age of 40. Contemporary readers might recognize Marcus from the Hollywood film Gladiator in the year 2000 as the virtuous warrior emperor played by Richard Harris. The ideal to which Marcus aspires is quite simple, and it can be stated in one sentence. If it is not right, don't do it. If it is not true, don't say it. It is extraordinarily difficult to follow, so we need to be constantly reminded to it. Like all good things, the life of virtue requires constant practice. Practice even the things which you despair of achieving. Writing, reading, memorizing, rehearsing, and meditating are all forms of practice aimed at seeing things correctly. Stoics hold that we should be indifferent about those things over which we have no control, but we should be passionate where passion is required. Marcus made no original contributions to philosophy, but his interest was not in abstract speculation. Rather, his effort was to turn theory into practice. As great sermonizers remind us that the point of life is to live well, not speculate on abstract speculation or pedantic exercises in scholastic debate. So we can read and learn, but at a point we must put away your books and be distracted no longer. This book is the private spiritual exercises of a great man, and we then must put it down and actively engage in living well. Verse 2. I learned from the reputation and remembrance of my father, modesty and a manly character. Verse 3. From my mother, piety and beneficence, and abstinence, not only from evil deeds, but even from evil thoughts. And further simplicity in my way of living, far removed from the habits of the rich. Verse 4. From my great-grandfather, not to have frequented public schools, and to have had good teachers at home, and to know that on such things a man should spend liberally. Verse 6. From Diogenetus, not to busy myself about trifling things. Verse 7. From Rusticus, not to be writing on speculative matters, or making displays of oratory, nor of showing off discipline, or displaying benevolent acts, nor walk around pridefully, and to write letters simply. Verse 8. From Apollonius, I learned how to receive from friends what are esteemed favors, without being either humbled by them, or letting them pass unnoticed. Verse 9. From Sextus, a benevolent disposition, and to look carefully after the interests of friends. He had the power of readily accommodating himself to all, so that speaking with him was more agreeable than any flattery, and at the same time he was most highly venerated by those who associated with him, and he never showed anger or any other passion, but was entirely free from passion, and also most affectionate. From Alexander the grammarian, to refrain from fault-finding, and not in a reproachful way to chide those who uttered any barbarous or syllogistic or strange-sounding expression, but dexterously to introduce the very expression which ought to have been used, and the way of answer or giving confirmation or joining in an inquiry about the thing itself, not about the word or by some other fit suggestion. From Alexander the Platonic, not frequently nor without necessity to say to anyone, or to write in a letter, that I have no leisure, nor continually to cause the neglect of duties required by our relation to those with whom we live, by alleging urgent occupations. From my brother Severus, I learned to believe I am loved by my friends, and in him I observed no concealment of his opinions with respect to those whom he condemned, and that his friends had no need to conjecture what he wished or did not wish, but it was quite plain. From Maximus I learned cheerfulness in all circumstances, as well as in illness, and to do what was set before me without complaining. I observed that everybody believed he thought as he spoke. He never had bad intentions, and was never in a hurry, and never put off doing a thing, nor was perplexed, nor dejected, nor did he ever laugh to disguise his vexation, nor, on the other hand, was he ever passionate or suspicious. In my father I observed mildness of temper and unchangeable resolution in the things which he had determined after due deliberation, to be ever watchful over the administration of the empire, and to be a good manager of the expenditure, and patiently to endure the blame which he got for such conduct. And of which fortune gives an abundant supply, he used without arrogance, and without excusing himself, so that when he had them he enjoyed them without affectation, and when he had them not, he did not want them. He took a reasonable care of his body's health, not as one who was greatly attached to life, nor out of regard to personal appearance, nor yet in a careless way, but so that through his own attention he verily seldom stood in the need of the physician's art, or of medicine, or external applications. He did not take the bath at unreasonable hours, nor curious about what he did eat, nor about the texture and color of his clothes, nor about the beauty of his slaves. There was in him nothing harsh, nor implacable, nor violent, nor, as one may say, anything carried to the sweating point, but he examined all things severally, as if he had an abundance of time, and without confusion, and orderly. To the gods I am indebted for having good family. Part 2, verse 11. Since it is possible that thou mayest depart from this life this very moment, regulate every thought and deed accordingly. Nothing is more wretched than a man who seeks by conjecture what is in the minds of his neighbors without perceiving that it is sufficient to attend to the daemon within him. Part 3, verse 4. And a man should use himself to think of those things only about which if one should suddenly ask, "What hast thou now in thy thoughts?" with perfect openness thou mightest answer, this or that, so that from thy words it should be plain that everything in thee is simple and benevolent, so you needn't blush in saying it. See a person's life, if impure or not to be looked up to, notice it, and accordingly he does not value at all the praise which comes from such men, since they are not even satisfied with themselves. In death, a man must then stand erect, not be kept erect by others. The past is already gone, and the future uncertain. You cannot lose what you do not have. So there is no such thing as losing anything in your future, or a future in and of itself, because you do not even have it. All you have is the present. That is where a man lives. Part 4, verse 7. Take away thy opinion, and there is taken away the complaint. I have been harmed. Take away the complaint. I have been harmed, and the harm is taken away. Verse 18. How much trouble he avoids, who does not look to see what his neighbor says or does or thinks, but only to what he does himself, that it may be just and pure. Or, as Agathon says, look not round at the depraved morals of others, but run straight along the line without deviating from it. Verse 20. Everything which is in any way beautiful is beautiful in itself and terminates in itself, not having praise as part of itself. Neither worse than nor better than is a thing made by being praised. Verse 24. Occupy thyself with few things, says the philosopher, if thou wouldst be tranquil. Do what is necessary, and whatever the reason of the animal which is naturally social requires, and as it requires. For most we do is unnecessary, so take it away, and unnecessary thoughts. Part 6, verse 6. The best way of avenging thyself is not to become like the wrongdoer. Take pleasure. Verse 7. Take pleasure in one thing, and rest in it, in passing from one social act to another social act, thinking of God. Desire not the clapping of men's hands when you enter a room, for what value is in it that you desire it? Desire not the clapping of hands, neither the clapping of the tongue, for that is what compliments and flattery is. Verse 27. Teach them then, and show them without being angry. See things exactly how they are. A fancy dress is just cloth and thread, common things. A dyed raiment of purple is just what it is, squeezed out of a shellfish on cloth. The fanciest of bags is still but leather and animal skin, and jewelry but rock and metal. Verse 47. What does life all matter, and what lasts? One thing here is worth a great deal, to pass thy life in truth and justice with a benevolent disposition, even to liars and unjust men. Verse 37. He who has seen present things has seen all, both everything which has taken place from all eternity, and everything which will be for time without end, for all things are of one kin and of one form. Verse 46. As it happens to thee in the amphitheater and such places, that the continual sight of the same things and the uniformity make the spectacle wearisome, so it is in the whole of life. For all things above, below are the same, and from the same. How long then? Verse 48. When thou wishest to delight thyself, think of the virtues of those who live with thee. For instance, the activity of one and the modesty of another. So always keep it before you. Verse 52. It is in your power to have no opinion about a thing, and not be disturbed in our soul, for things themselves have no natural power to form our judgments. Verse 53. Accustom thyself to attend carefully to what is said by another, and as much as possible be in the speaker's mind. Verse 54. That which is not good for the swarm, neither is it good for the bee. Part 7, verse 14. But I, unless I think that what has happened is an evil, am not injured. And it is in my power not to think so. Verse 50. That which has grown from the earth to the earth, but that which has sprung from heavenly seed, back to the heavenly realms return. Verse 56. Consider thyself to be dead, and to have completed thy life up to the present time, and live according to nature the remainder which is allowed thee. Verse 65. Take care not to feel towards the inhuman as they feel towards men. Verse 68. For everything which happens has a relationship either to God or man, and is neither new nor difficult to handle, but usual and apt matter to work on. Part 8, verse 42. It is not fit that I should give myself pain, for I have never intentionally given pain even to another. Verse 54. No longer let thy breathing only act in concert with the air which surrounds thee, but let thy intelligence also now be in harmony with the intelligence which embraces all things. For the intelligent power is no less diffused in all parts, and pervades all things for him who is willing to draw it to him, than the aerial power for him who is able to respire it. Verse 57. As the sun's rays just keep extending, and even if it is divided by a solid body, yet it moves past it and keeps going. Same then ought to be when you speak or do, and an outpouring of understanding. It should in no way be an effusion, but an extension, and it should make no violent or impetuous collision with the obstacles which are in its way, nor yet fall down, but be fixed and enlighten that which receives it. For a body will deprive itself of the illumination if it does not admit it. Part 9, verse 40. Either the gods have no power, or they have power. If then they have no power, why dost thou pray to them? But if they have power, why dost thou not pray for them to give thee the faculty of not fearing any of the things which thou fearest, or of not desiring the things which thou desirest, or not being pained at anything, rather than pray that any of these things should not happen or happen? For certainly, if they can cooperate with men, they can cooperate for these purposes. But perhaps thou wilt say, the gods have placed them in thy power. Well then, is it not better to use what is in thy power like a free man than to desire in a slavish and abject way what is not in thy power? And who has told thee that the gods do not aid us even in the things which are in our power? Begin then to pray for such things, and thou wilt see. One man prays thus, How shall I be able to lie with that woman? Do thou pray thus, How shall I not desire to lie with her? Another prays thus, How shall I be released from this? Another prays, How shall I not desire to be released? Another thus, How shall I not lose my little son? Thou thus, How shall I not be afraid to lose him? In fine, turn thy prayers this way, and see what comes. Part 10, verse 25. He who flies from his master is a runaway, but the law is master, and he who breaks the law is a runaway. And he who is grieved or angry or afraid is dissatisfied because something has been, or is, or shall be of the things which are appointed by him who rules all things, and he is law, and assigns to every man what is fit. He then who fears, or is grieved, or is angry, is a runaway. Verse 34. Leaves also are thy children, and leaves too are they who cry out as if they were worthy of credit and bestow their praise, or on the contrary curse, or secretly blame and sneer. And leaves in like manner are we. A little time, and thou shalt close thy eyes. Part 11, verse 5. What is thy art? To be good. Verse 15. How unsound and insincere is he who says, I have determined to deal with thee in a fair way. What art thou doing, man? There is no occasion to give this notice. It will soon show itself by acts. Avoid false friendship most of all. The good and simple and benevolent show all these things in the eyes, and there is no mistaking. Part 12, verse 4. I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. Verse 6. Practice thyself even in the things which thou despairest of accomplishing. Verse 17. If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Verse 28. To those who ask, Where hast thou seen the gods? Or how dost thou comprehend that they exist, and so worshipest them? I answer in the first place, they may be seen even with the eyes. In the second place, neither have I seen my own soul, and yet I honor it. Thus then, with respect to the gods, from what I constantly experience of their power, from this I comprehend that they exist, and I venerate them. Verse 36. The same is a praetor, who has employed an actor, dismisses him from the stage. But I have not finished the 5 acts, but only the 3 of them. Thou sayest well, but in life the 3 acts are the whole drama. For what shall be a complete drama is determined by him who was once the cause of its composition, and now of its dissolution. But thou art the cause of neither. Depart then satisfied, for he who releases thee is satisfied.